Hi guys, welcome back to the Creating Gems podcast. My name is Victoria Sinis, and we have changed up locations. We are actually sitting in my brother and sister-in-law's office slash spare bedroom. I've slept over. My little nephew is asleep, and I really wanted to come on and start to deep dive for you guys into the adventures of America, of the Creating Gems tour, and just take you guys through each bit. And I actually filmed for you while I was overseas as well, so in another studio, which I actually think is really fun. I feel like this podcast is actually going to end up turning into a game of where in the world am I? And so I actually was able to deep dive into the basically like prequel to America and what were the series of events that happened to lead me to America and how God just opened up all those doors. And so we're not going to dive into that necessarily in these series. So this series is specifically for what were the adventures that happened, what happened on this tour, what were the takeaways, what were the highlights, and all of that. And I'm going to go through basically city by city for you. So let's literally just jump right in. Get yourself a tea, get cozy, and let's start jumping into all the different adventures of this past tour. So to begin with, I'm going to take you back. Oh wow, that tea is really in your face, isn't it? Let's just move back. We're gonna go to where I started the trip. So I actually started the trip in LA. And I'm going to take you guys through as well, photo by photo, just all the memories and everything that happened. And man, LA, it's so crazy. I landed there and it was kind of like the rest, the calm before the storm. And it's just so crazy, the meticulous timing of God. And so, one of my heroes in the faith is a gentleman named Erwin McManus and his church Mosaic. And last time I did everything I possibly could to be able to coordinate, to be able to go to church on the Sunday. I was actually taking a train that Sunday from LA to Santa Barbara, and I went on the Whatever podcast on my first tour. And I was like, do I rock up with my suitcase and then go straight from church to the train? I was calling the church. I messaged them, can I bring my suitcase? Like, and I was like, no, it's crazy and ridiculous. I can't come with a 30 kilo suitcase to church. It's too much. So I didn't get to go. So this time around, and a really cool way that God speaks to me is kind of through dates and just solidifying things. And I feel that there's two really sweet takeaways from this LA part of the trip. Number one was God really honors, I think, the things that we care about and the things that we find joy in. I think that people think that God is like this serious thing. You turn into this like slave little worker bee and that you don't get to have fulfillment. And honestly, doing the work of God is the most fulfilling thing on the planet ever. But he also cares about us having fun and sees those things in our hearts and he cares about them. And so I was praying about the dates for the trip to come to America in general. And what I do is I usually play around with dates and no lie, the cheapest dates, like supernaturally cheap, are the ones that I know that God's talking to me. Now, it doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen where I'll be like, okay, I'll play around with this date. And then I pick the second day. I picked the day after that. It's like a ridiculous amount more expensive. And so that's how I know that that's the day that I'm supposed to go. And so I picked my dates and I still get like anxious about these trips. Everything is new. And am I supposed to go? Am I doing the right thing? It just so happened that the day after I landed in Los Angeles, that Erwin McManus was doing an event with this gentleman named Brendan Bouchard. Um, it was like a business event, and it was about leadership and communication and maximizing like your productivity and all of this. So, um, I love this stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, what are the chances that the day after I land in Los Angeles, prayed about the dates, all the things, that this date pops up, or that this event pops up, and I was like, oh, it was a little expensive with conversion rate, poor Australian dollar with American dollar. But I was like, should I go? And I actually asked like a friend who's a pastor about it. She's like, of course, like why wouldn't you? Like, God wants you to enjoy things too. And I was so flipping excited for this. And it was just the most beautiful event. I learned so much. Some of the biggest takeaways was this thing that Brendan Bouchard talks about, which is called Done by One. And it's basically scheduling out your calendar Monday to Friday, that you wake up and the most important things that need to get done for that day for your business, forwarding your mission, whatever it is, are done by 1 o'clock. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to finish work at 1 o'clock, but the most critical components to be able to forward your business and forward your mission, do that by 1 o'clock. And since being home, I've implemented that and it's actually genius. And I've just found that I'm so much more efficient, I'm sharper, and then I still have this drive because I'm like, oh my gosh, I finished everything. It's like 1 o'clock. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to come back. And what else can I get done with the day? And so it's actually a really cool way to be able to structure your day. So it was one of the biggest takeaways. And then Erwin spoke about like leadership matrix, which was super fascinating and interesting. That guy is just a genius. But that time just in LA before getting into this trip was just such a sweet reminder of God cares so much about the little things, and He cares about the things that you care about, and He wants to have fun with you. And I think that we get the relationship so messed up with God that He's like this cosmic dictator and He's so mad at you, and you just have to do all these things. And this trip was such a beautiful reminder, especially at the beginning of this trip, of God just wants to have fun with us sometimes, and He just wants to enjoy things. And I had a really hard couple of months from about October, November last year, honestly, until the trip. I've been really struggling. Some crazy stuff has been happening, things that have threatened my safety. And it's just brought up a lot. And so I've been in a really deep time of like healing and grieving and processing and just overcoming a lot of things that happened before I was a Christian. And so I came into this trip honestly emotionally pretty exhausted, kind of tapped out, creatively burnt out, just not feeling inspired and really struggling. And so it was just the kindness of God to be like, let's just hang out and let's just do fun things. And I love Los Angeles. And so it was just this really beautiful way to ease into this trip before, I guess we really deep dived into it. And I guess that was just another element and kind of facet of God that He showed me, was that it's kind of like hard to comprehend that God is all things in all situations. And sometimes He just, yeah, literally wants to go, hey, what are the things you love doing? Let's go do them. And let's just hang out and have fun and rest and relax and enjoy, even in a situation like this where I'm getting ready to tour. I'm like going to go speak and do stuff that's pretty, I guess, intense conversations to be having. And I just think it really reiterates the kindness of God. And I heard this saying that like God's a girl dad. And I just think it's so true. God's a girl dad. He really cares about us, and He really cares about us being able to rest and work well and work from a place of rest. I think in hustle culture nowadays, even in like ministry world, I'm learning that. But yeah, sometimes God is like, man, let me lead you beside still waters. And it says in Psalm 23, He makes me lie down. And it's like sometimes Jesus is like, girl, you just gotta chill. You just gotta rest. You gotta hang out with me. Let me restore you. Let me refresh you. And then let's go out. And so I really feel that that was the beginning of this trip, the kindness of God to do that. And my friend Cassandra, who I got to stay with, it was just the best time. And we get along so well. And she loves everything that I love. And we got to do Pilates together and go to farmers markets. And it was just the best. Eat ramen. And so honestly, the first half of this trip was just the sweetest thing ever. And it was so, um, just the perfect way to ease into this tour. And yeah, I got to finally go to Mosaic, and I've been praying and praying about a door and an open opportunity. And so being able to go there on the Friday and meet this beautiful community, it was so inspiring. So inspiring to be in a place, in a space of someone that you would consider a hero, and to see the community that they built in the environment and how welcoming it was, and how just at home I felt so immediately. I have never felt more welcomed into a community than I have at Mosaic. And it was just spectacular. It was so phenomenal. And I think that that's really attributed to obviously the culture that has been built there and encouraged. And so it was honestly one of the most special things being able to finally go there and experience it and experience the church. I come from a super charismatic church. And so being able to go to somewhere like this and just enjoy it and the eloquence of the way that Erwin speaks and how inspiring he is just to be in an environment like that, even for the couple of days that I was just so much fun. And just a really answered prayer by God. And so that's kind of the sweetness and the simplicity of how this tour began. It actually began from a place of rest and a place of fun and a place of joy and a place of prayers that were answered. And I think that God's so wise because he knew that that's the heart framework that I needed to have to step into, the next couple months. And so literally part one of USA Tour LA. Honestly, follow, subscribe to the channel because we're literally going to be debriefing through every single part of this tour and the takeaways and talking about this wild ride, the series of events that unfolded, the twists, the turns, the extension of this trip in a way I never would have imagined, and all of the other wonderful things that have happened. So I'm so excited to be able to continue to deep dive into this and basically just share this adventure with you guys. So I'll see you for the next debrief. Bye.